Hey there, it's Zoe. My channel is Vegan Mental Iron, and I just talk here about investing in mental iron, which is really just an anagram of environmentalist. I truly think that a vegan diet helps us be more in line with taking care of the planet and our own bodies as well. So today, in that vein, since I haven't really talked much about mental health and why I even really started this channel, I wanted to talk about mental health and veganism. I just want to talk about 5 things that changed for me when I went vegan. So firstly, I want to talk about anxiety and depression and how that ties in with diet. A lot of people are malnourished. A lot of Americans are obese and malnourished, and that was certainly the case for me when I was obese. So if you want to see more about my weight loss video, I'll link it below. I was missing a lot of essential nutrients from plant foods, like greens and things like that. Like even calcium I was missing, even though I had a lot of dairy. So when you incorporate more of them, you'll feel a little calmer. And for me, I definitely needed a lot of these micronutrients, and I was lacking in them. I had less racing thoughts, I was able to sleep better, and even like less muscle twitches and aches and things like that I noticed. Scientists have established there is something called carbohydrate deprivation syndrome. This is basically if you're not getting enough carbohydrates, there's a bunch of symptoms that you can expect having low blood glucose. This is called hypoglycemia. Basically, you're just not getting enough glucose that is reaching your brain or your muscles. So this will result in confusion, mood swings, blurry or double vision. You can even have heart arrhythmias, which has personally happened to me, sweating, hunger, brain fog, or memory problems. There's also an increased risk of cardiovascular disease if you're not getting enough carbohydrates. And I'm talking about carbohydrates here not as like white bread. I'm talking about like potatoes and beans, things that have nutrients. But I also had stomach pain, I had really bad acid reflux, things like that. But the main thing I'm trying to focus on here is that I had really bad anxiety and depression. And yes, there are things going on in my life that were hard at the time, but I've dealt with hard things since then, and I felt like it was so much worse, and I felt like it was so much harder to deal with. And of course, some of that comes with like, getting more in touch with yourself and everything, but I even notice now within the vegan diet, when I eat more processed things, I have more anxiety. I have a harder time doing the things I need to do emotionally because I'm not getting the nutrients I need. Number 2, I had a different connection with nature. So my whole life growing up, I spent a good amount of time hiking, camping, skiing, surfing, swimming in the ocean. I've always felt a deep connection to nature and gratitude towards it, especially after long periods being cooped up indoors. And I still do live in a city. It's a nice city, New Brunswick, what up? But it's also like there aren't a lot of green spaces. Even though I've had more time in nature when I was younger, something felt off to me and I couldn't quite put my finger on it. I do feel more connected to nature now that I'm living a life that takes far less out of it. Just knowing my CO2 footprint is higher because I'm partaking in animal foods, things like that. Once I learned them, I just realized that I feel more aligned with Mother Earth now because my actions are reflecting more about my attitude and beliefs. I am a nature lover. I've always seen myself as a nature lover, but my actions always haven't been the actions of a nature lover. If you love something, you don't eat it. If you love something, you don't break it. But I was doing those things, and it was a bit hypocritical, and I think on some sense I knew that in my soul. So for me, I feel more connected to nature now. Thing number 3 that changed a lot when I went vegan, apocalyptic dread. How can I explain this? Yeah, I guess this kind of ties into what I was just talking about. I would say, like, in my personal experience, I struggle with anxiety and depression like we all do, that's more vague and doesn't necessarily always have a cause. And that definitely has been lessened by a vegan diet for me. However, I have felt that going vegan woke me up to sort of atrocities that I was ignorant to before, and that has caused me a lot of emotional pain. These are more specific things: animal abuse, the corruption of big food and big pharmaceutical industries, and how they impact the general health of people. When I see people I love or care about sick or dying from diseases that are mainly caused by bad diet and us basically being poisoned. Another thing I've noticed too, like the environmental crisis, aka the current extinction event that we're living through, that causes me so much pain. Like, I'll cry over that, but this is a specific pain. And I've also just become more aware of and hurt by others' general apathy to making real changes. But also being aware of my own past mistakes that I've made when I wasn't aware of these things, and having to come into a realization and forgive myself for that, because I think most of us are good people and we care what we do and we want to be self-aware. Not everything in this list is positive. Like, any big life change, going vegan isn't an easy emotional process, and I would say the hardest thing for me has been being a vegan in a non-vegan world. But on to something a little more positive, I will say that I have more of a physical feeling of well-being. So I'm feeling more aware of my true hunger signs. I know when I'm full, I know when I'm hungry. Just a healthier relationship with food though, you know? Random aches and pains that I've had have lessened, and some of them have disappeared. I haven't had to rely on any medications, which was a slow process, getting off of all sorts of things, which I will talk about one day in another video. My digestion also really improved. So I used to have really bad acid reflux, and now that's so much better. I do get sick less often. It used to be like bronchitis every single fall and winter, and like big allergies and pain and like colds and flus all the time. Yeah, I get less migraines. Something I've suffered with a lot in my life is migraines with really intense auras, and like I see like colored lights and spots and stuff, and I have less of them now and they're less painful. So yeah, and then lastly, I guess this is not necessarily as much of a physical thing, but I don't know, panic attacks are a physical and emotional experience. They're a mental health thing, but they make your heart race. They make things happen to your body, and I used to have them a lot more often. And now I definitely think I have them less. I still have them though sometimes, but they're for actual reasons. Like I was talking about before, when I have depression and anxiety now, it's not necessarily always just vague. It's usually about something. It's about the fact that, I don't know, I just heard another species went extinct, or I don't know, I read a new climate change report, or I saw like some footage of animals being abused and it hurt me and hurt my soul. So those are the kind of things that will set me off now, as opposed to just like this random feeling of like, bleh, you know? The fifth thing that has definitely changed for me after going vegan is that I now question things more. So once my mind was blown about something so big, like this is an action you repeat daily. You eat every single day. You have several meals. I realized how many more things there are still that I don't know about life or about how the world works, or that I'd taken for granted that I thought I knew, but I didn't. I don't know, like I said, I found myself questioning big pharma, big food. Now I'm thinking about like racism and transphobia and sexism and like just anything intersectional with human or any rights of any being on this planet that are being infringed upon, where they're not allowed to love and live their lives the way that they should be allowed to, their right as a being on this planet, as an earthling. I'm questioning like the history I was taught in school when I grew up, like how much of this is biased and wrong and like written from a privileged white perspective. Things like that, that, I don't know, intersect. And I'm not like crediting veganism with like the only reason I would ever question these things, but I just see such an intersectionalism between so many of these issues, and it just gives me this extra depth to think about them that I feel like I welcome, but is also like kind of terrifying, because it makes me wonder, how have I been complicit in like other forms of abuse or neglect of other beings that I want to love and care for and treat equally. So yeah, that's it for this video. Sorry if it rambled on a little bit. I'm still getting more used to how to do this, but let me know what you think and what your biggest 5 things or 4 things or however many things are that you noticed changed when you went vegan. Or like if you're just curious about the lifestyle, what do you notice is changing for you perceptually, emotionally, in your soul, like physically? I don't know, everyone's experience is so different. Here I go again. That's everything. Thanks so much for watching, and let me know if you like this video. Give me a thumbs up, subscribe, say hello, be my friend, and yeah, have a great day, whatever day it is now. Okay, bye.